What's up? Welcome back. We're building out a creator platform, and in this episode, you're going to learn how to use products. We're going to interact with the product and price API from Stripe. There is a brand new way to create multi-currency prices, so we're going to take a look at how we can do that. But the first thing we need to do is add some sort of navigation here on our dashboard where we're going to create products. Now, out of the gate, these products are going to be downloadable, one-time purchase things. Think like an ebook or, I don't know, some sort of audiobook or something. So we're going to set up our products by creating a new model. All right, so Rails G model product, and it's going to have a Stripe ID. It's going to have a Stripe price ID. We're going to store the data, like the raw data from Stripe, in a JSON blob. We're also going to need to have like some name for the product, probably a description, and maybe long-term, it might actually have some images or things like that, but we're going to talk about attachments later. So let's start with this. So this is going to give us a brand new product object. So let's open up the migration and make sure this name is not null. That'll be the only requirement that we have out of the gate. Rails DB migrate to create our products here. Also, we are now using the annotated gem or the annotate gem. So now our model should be annotated. So if we jump over to product, we can see at the top we've got all of our columns there. Very cool. The one other thing that I forgot is we want a product to be related to a specific user. So let's say Rails G migration, add user to products. And we're going to say user references, and that should work just fine as our foreign key. Okay, Rails DB migrate, and we're going to update our product model to say the product belongs to a user. And we can jump over to the user and say the user has many products. Yeah, thank you, GitHub Copilot. Okay, so now what we want to do is generate a new controller where we're going to create these products. So we'll say Rails G controller products, and it's going to have an index page, a show page, a new page, maybe even an edit eventually. So we're going to start with this. Let's open up routes. We don't need these first 4 routes. Instead, we're going to use resources, products, resources, products. And let's start off on the index page. I guess we're just going to call this products. I think we have a little helper here that does content for page title. And this is going to just say products. Okay, and we need some link. We're just going to have like a simple link that's going to bring us to the new product path. And people might ask like why I don't use, why I tend not to use link to. No reason, no reason at all. Okay, so let's see what this thing looks like. Okay, we have this link. It brings us to the new products. That's cool. Let's also add a link to the navigation. This is done by an application helper method here that we have at the top, where we have these menu items. So we're going to add a new menu item here called products. And now that should show at the top here. So now we have products. Okay, cool. So let's work on our new form for the product. So we're going to go over to product new. And in here, we're going to have a pretty sophisticated form, I think. So let's start off with a Tailwind UI component for our form. So we're going to find a form layout that we think might look good for creating products. I like the stacked layouts where the label is right over the input field. I don't know, I read somewhere in some UX like blog post probably that doing it this way makes it simpler and easier to follow for users. So you want to have like the label above the thing. This can be nice if you have a 2-column where it's sort of like the high level overview and then stacked input boxes where the label is above the input. I think that's also fine, but we're going to start off with just this simple stacked layout. So I'm going to copy all of the HTML for that and drop that in, and we'll take a look and see what's going on here. All right, so let's refresh our page. So this is our new product form, which if we look at it, we're going to want some name field that's going to collect the name of the product. About we can repurpose as description. Eventually we'll have a photo of the product, but for now I'm just going to like remove this input completely. Same thing with cover photo. And then eventually we're going to want to create or collect the currency that we want to charge and the amount, how much we want to charge for these products, these one-time products. So we can just use kind of like maybe 2 fields like this or something. Maybe this currency field maybe shorter, the unit amount field is longer. but we'll see. Okay, so what we want to do is start off by changing profile to product, and we'll just remove sort of the template thing there. And then let's change username to just name. This is going to be the name of the product. I'm going to change all references of username here to name. And then the actual name property of the input needs to be product with name inside of square brackets. Okay, so now we have this name thing, but we still have this workcation thing going on. That's because the CSS here has this little like rounded thingy. And so we need to remove some of this roundedness. So we're going to remove rounded none and change it from round on the right side to round the whole thing. And that should give us a nice product name. Okay, let's go to the about section, and we're going to change about to to description. And then we're going to change about to description. And then we're going to change this name here to be product description. I'm remembering one thing, create product. So in the migration, we ended up making the description a string. I'm going to change that to be text. So Rails G migration, make product description text. And let's talk about how we can modify. So make product description text. So we're going to say change column on the products table description to text. Rails DB migrate. I think that should just work because text should be able to be upgraded, or string should be able to be upgraded to text without any issue. Okay, let's go back to our product new form here. And the next thing is a photo. The next thing is a cover photo. So we're going to delete both of those. And okay, we've got an extra end div there. Okay, write a few sentences to describe the product. Sure, I don't know, it's kind of like cute, right? A little nice little thing underneath it. And then in terms of personal information, let's keep this horizontal divide, and then we're going to call this prices instead of personal information. We're going to say price, or maybe like default price, and we're going to say set a default price. All right, and instead of first name, we're going to use currency here. First name is going to be changed to currency. Okay, and then the name is going to be, so what we want to do is we're going to create the product, and inside of the product create, we're going to like save the name and the description in the database. Then we're going to take the currency and the amount, and we're going to pass that to Stripe to create a default price. And so inside of the controller, we need to actually send some of this to the database, some of it to Stripe. Stripe's going to give us some stuff back. We're going to put the rest of it in the database. So here, what I think I might want to do is say default price, default price data for the currency. That's going to be the name of it. And then for last name, we're going to change that to be amount. Last name amount /G. Okay, so then the name here is going to be default price data for the amount. And we don't need any autocompletes anymore. That would be kind of weird. And then we can change the label to amount, and we can change this to currency. And the actual type here is no longer text. This is going to be a number where the step is 0.01. I know in some currencies the step is going to be different, right? Like some currencies have long decimal places that they support, but for now we'll just make the step be 2 decimal places. I expect that because we're building this creator platform for US creators to start. This is probably a safe move, but I don't know. This should work just fine, at least out of the gate. All right, we're going to remove email address, country, street address, city, state, zip. All of that is going to be removed. We don't need that. All right, so what do we have now? Okay, so we have a default price. That's going to collect the currency and the amount. In fact, I'm going to pre-fill the currency with a value of USD. And the reason I want to do this is that when I'm testing, it's going to be kind of a pain if I have to always enter that in. But yeah, so this should be fine. All right, and then I'm going to remove this whole notifications div, and Yeah, so we're going to remove this whole notifications thing. Okay, and then we still have our buttons at the bottom, cancel and save. I'm going to remove cancel. That should just be just save, and we can make that called create product. All right, so now the name is going to be something like test, 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 test. The default price might be 122 or whatever. When we click create, we want this to send a post request to /products. Okay, and I think we want this to have data turbo is false, but I'm not 100% sure yet. The other thing I want to do is now Stripe supports localized currency. So you can collect localized currencies. The way this works is that from the API, when you're creating a price object, you can pass in currency options. So if we wanted to also accept or offer euros when our customer might be in Europe, or Japanese yen when our customers are in Japan, we could do that here by accepting multiple different currencies. And then depending on the IP address of the end customer, it would swap out the amount in currency on the end. So that would allow us to build out like purchasing power parity type stuff, or your own custom currencies for someone in the US versus someone who wants to pay in euros. That way, if a customer is based in Europe, they're accustomed to paying in euros, they don't have to pay for the foreign exchange fees, right? The FX fees to their bank when they buy something in USD. So usually if you're in Europe and you want to buy something in USD, it's my understanding that you pay money in USD, and when that money comes out of your bank account, which is in euros, there's going to be a little fee that's attached to that. So if you wanted to pay in euros to buy some ebook that one of our creators from the US created, then we want to be able to offer you the option to pay in euros so that you're not sort of like, so that you are more likely to convert. Okay. So we're at a good point here where we can start messing around. So the other thing that I want to collect is these optional prices, right? Like the optional currencies. And so what we want to do is add another section under default price. Maybe it's called like alternative prices or something. So let's just grab this whole thing, and we're going to have a similar UI where where we'll enable users to enter in like alternative prices. So just instead of default, we'll call it alternative prices or something. And let's see what currencies are going to be supported. So presentment currencies. Yep. So this is all the supported currencies. So we're going to say like, I don't know, select from the list of supported currencies. And let's make like a nice little link that goes out to there so that users or these creators, when they're entering this in, or when they're setting up their alternative currencies, they know which currencies are supported. There's a whole bunch of different currencies. Okay, so then we're going to have this be target underscore blank so that their form, if they've like half filled their form out, it doesn't end up logging them out. Okay, so now we have this section here that says alternative prices. But if you have a keen eye, then you know that right now, when this gets submitted to the back end, Rails is going to look at this and be like, default price currency, I'm going to use the last one that I encountered on the page, which is going to be one of our alternative currencies. That's not what we want. Instead, what we want is we want to pass back some sort of currency, I guess it's called currency options in the API. So we'll use the same naming when we're building out our front end. So we're going to call this currency options, and this is going to be a list. We're going to pass it as a list of currency and amount, like it's going to be a list of dictionaries where each dictionary has a key of currency and the value is like USD or Japanese yen or euro. And then also it's going to have a key of amount and then the value for the amount. So we need to pass this a little array thing here so that we'll build an array for each of those that come in. All right, so for now, we'll just call this euro, and we should have like the HTML at least on the page for building out a product. So we'll say test, amount, amount. And then when we click on create product, this is sending a post request to the products controller, which does not actually have that yet. So we're going to jump over to the products controller. We're going to add a new method here called create. And in the create method, we're going to say product is current user.products.new product params. If the product was saved, then we are going to create a new Stripe product. So we're going to say Stripe product. So we need to create a class, and we're going to, in that class, we're going to pass in params, and we're also going to pass in the product. And then that product is going to have a method called create product, which will save and update the product under the hood. Okay, so let's say private. This is a private method for product params, and it's just going to allow the name and description. Okay, that's our product params. And then if we go, let's go into our Stripe directory here and add Stripe product.rb. So this is going to be a new class called Stripe product, and it's going to have our product and our params, and those are also going to be like attributes on here, product and params. And then what we can do is say create product, which is what we called it here. And this is where we're actually going to call Stripe product.create and pass in a bunch of arguments. So the arguments are outlined in the API reference for creating a brand new product. So what we can do is, instead of creating a price object, let's look at this new product create. So product create now has this brand new thing called default price data, which is very handy, and it enables us to pass in a bunch of data about the default price while we're creating the product. Previously, you had to create the product in one call, create the price in another call, or you could create the price and ad hoc create the products underneath it. This is much, much better. We can create the product and the price at the same time, and have all of those additional currency options. So we're going to pass in a name. The name is going to be product.name. Description is going to be product.description. And then metadata for this product, we want to include the user's ID and also the product ID. That's great. And then I want to pass in the default price data. And this is going to be a big object that it's going to create the actual underlying price object. So the currency is going to be params default price data currency, and the unit amount is going to be params default price amount. Then inside of here, we are also going to pass currency options. And I'm actually going to build this up as a variable that we're going to pass in here, currency options, and it's going to look something like this. So currency options is going to be a dictionary where it's going to look like this. Currency options at like USD is equal to a dictionary with the unit amount being like the value that was passed in. And so in order to get to this shape, what I'm going to use is inject. So when we receive params are going to have params currency options. And recall, those are going to come in as an array, right? So these are coming in as an array, which we can then use inject and build up a hash, which is going to be like our currency options or whatever. This is really just like the accumulator. So we can say ACC at the, well, let's call this option, at like option of the currency is going to be this hash where we have unit amount points at the option of amount. All right, and then from our block, we want to return ACC, and this should give us our currency options back. All right, so we're going to pass that in as our currency options. And this call should give us back a Stripe product. And our Stripe product, we want to take that and we want to update our internal product that we're storing in the database. We want to set the Stripe product. We want to set the Stripe ID. Did we call it? I thought we called it Stripe ID. We did. Okay, so we want to set just Stripe ID. to Stripe product.id. Let's set data to the entire Stripe product as JSON. And then finally, we have Stripe price ID. This is going to be Stripe product.default price. By default, it would be default price. But one other fancy thing that we're going to do is we're going to say expand the default price. That way, in the response from the API, it'll include the price and a bunch of different information about the price that we get back. Okay. So we are going to create a brand new Stripe product using the API, and we're going to update our product like so. Okay. The one other thing I wanted to do was right here, just add a simple little guard where we're going to return early if the product.stripe ID is present. If there's a Stripe ID already, we don't want to recreate the product in the API. We only want this to happen if there's no product in the API or we don't have like reference to that product, to that Stripe product. Okay, so we have our, let's go back to our products controller. I'm not sure this is going to work. We've been writing a lot of code. We haven't tested anything. So I think we should probably go do that. So let's go back to our products. We're going to create a new product. We're going to say it's called test 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever. Okay, and then when we say create product, let's actually inspect this too, just to make sure that we have the right currency options thing. Okay, create product. Oh, no CSRF token. Okay, so let's go to our product, new. Gosh, this is one of the things about not using form helpers, which, I don't know, again, that's like, whatever. That's my spicy take, is don't use form helpers. All right, test again, blah, blah, blah. Okay, create product. We're missing a comma, probably. Let's see, yep. All right. Okay, did that actually do anything? All right, we got a post request back from Stripe. I'm guessing that means that we used the API to do something. So let's open up Rails console and look at product.last. Okay, look at that. It's got a product ID. The Stripe price ID is a whole bunch of data. So that's wrong. We want that to just be the ID of the default price. So I meant to make that ID, but I forgot to change it back. Okay, new product. Test again. All right, we'll make this one $10 and 12 euros, and we'll say create product. Okay, product.last. All right, so there we go. We've got the price ID and we have the product ID, so we're looking really good. But you might be wondering, wait a second, I want to add more alternative prices. If I can add as many as I want, why do I only have an input for euros? Let's add Stimulus, or let's use Stimulus and make a button here that says add. That will add the fields into our form. That's going to kind of like build up our nested form here. So let's go back over to, yeah, I guess we'll go back to the terminal here. We're going to say Rails G Stimulus product form. I think, I don't know, that seems good. Product form controller. Okay, this is going to be our product form controller. And we're going to have our product new. So inside of our alternative products div here, we're going to say data controller is product form. It's going to be our product form controller. Now, rather than ever rendering out any of the div that contains the fields, let's make this inside of a template. And we're going to give this template a data product form target is equal to template. And we're going to wrap the entire thing like that. Where does that start? No. Okay. Okay, and then we're going to create static targets is template. Now, what we want to do is we want to drop, anytime we click on the button, we want to drop that into some div here which is going to have data product form target is prices. And we'll just make that an empty div. Okay, and then in order for any of this to work, we need some button. So again, I'm just gonna grab a button. I should probably make like a shortcut, a text shortcut for buttons, right? Okay, button. I just want the middle one here. Okay. This time I do want type button because I don't want it to actually click. Add, or I don't want it to actually submit the form. So I'm gonna say add price. We're gonna call it add price, and this is gonna have a data action, which is going to be product form add price. Okay, add price is going to be this new method that's going to say something like probably that. I don't know. GitHub Copilot is on fire today. Holy moly. Okay, so sure. I mean, that seems reasonable. Let's see if that just works. Okay, add price. Wow, look at that. Add price, add price. Okay. Now we can add different currencies. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the value for euros. And yeah, I guess we could get super fancy and say like every time you click add price, it sets the currency for you automatically. That would be pretty money. But like I don't think, yeah, I don't know. It doesn't seem like it's worth the time right this second. Okay, class underline so we can actually see this link. Okay, let's also give this button a little bit of, as they say, breathing room with a margin top of 4. Okay, and now when we click add price, let's give it some a price in euros. So we're going to make this one like our new test or test with prices. Okay, so let's say it's $10 USD. It's going to be $9. Oh, what? I think $10 USD, 9 euros. Oh wow, scroll totally. Okay, 9 euros, or I don't know, what is the exchange rate of USD to JPY? What is that? Okay, so $1 is 130. Okay, so let's say times 10, what does that give us? So that's how many Japanese yen. So 135120, 135120. Okay, now let's say create product. All right, so at this point we should have a product.last that in the database has, okay, it's really hard to read that JSON, but that has a price, and that price should have all of these different currency options on it. Now, what does that actually mean? It means that when we create a checkout session and redirect a checkout using that price, if the customer is in Europe or if they're in Japan, instead of paying $10 USD, they're going to pay 9 euros or whatever, 351 Japanese yen. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to now create a way that people can actually pay for this. Right now, like ideally what I want to have is some custom subdomain that creators can spin up that will be something like, I don't know, mydomain.creators.dev. And on that page, they can have all of their products that they want to display. And someone can go there and say, I want to buy this, and that will redirect them to checkout. While we're just testing this out, let's add a button on the show page for a product that will let us purchase the product. I'm also remembering one other thing. We just created the product at the platform level. We did not create it on the connected account. So we want to go back and do that. So let's go to our Stripe product. So here, when we're creating the product, we didn't pass in any Stripe headers. And so that meant that the product was created at the platform level, but we actually want it to be created at the connected account level. So these are direct charges that are happening, or like the products are being purchased directly on each of the connected accounts. All right, so now what we want to do is generate a new controller for checking out. So we're going to say Rails G controller checkouts, and this controller is just going to create checkout sessions, and it will redirect to checkout. Let's go add a route for it. Resource checkout. And in here, we're going to say create, and that's going to create a checkout session, and it's going to be Stripe checkout session.create. We need to pass it a whole bunch of stuff. We're going to say the mode is payment. The success URL is going to be, let's just make this the root URL for now. Cancel URL will be the root URL. Line items is going to be a list of line items that has one element, and it's going to be the price that's going to come in from the params. Quantity is 1. And then we also want to specify, what else? Let's see. Oh, right. Okay, so this, in the same way that we created the product on the connected account, we're going to create this checkout session on the connected account. And so we need to know, it's possible that the users going through this checkouts controller are going to come in through a different route where we don't have the authenticated user. We just know the ID of the product that they selected. So in fact, let's do this a little bit differently too. So let's look up the product. So we're going to say product.find params product ID. Now the account is going to be product.user.account. And here we're going to say the Stripe account is account.stripe ID. And the price is going to be product.stripe price ID. All right. I think we're at a pretty good place. We have our checkout session. Now we need to call redirect to checkout session.url. The status is see other, and we need to have allow other host is set to true since we're redirecting to the Stripe hosted page. All right, let's go back to our product show page. So we want this to be a form that when submitted will hit that checkout controller's create action. So we're gonna say form action is /checkout, and the method is post, and data turbo is false since we're gonna redirect to a different site. We need our input type is hidden, and that is going to have the product ID, but this is going to be done like this at product.id. We also need input type is hidden, and that's going to be our authenticity token. And we're also going to have a button, which we can grab from here again. Whoops. And the type this time is going to be submit. And here we'll just say checkout. All right, so if we go to a product show page, let's go to the, I don't know, what is the last product? Let's see. Rails console, product.last.id 4. So if we go to number 4, okay, we're seeing that product.id is nil. That's because in the products controller, we didn't actually find a product by ID, so now we should be able to do that. Okay, now we see this checkout button. We can click checkout and no such price, blah, blah, blah. Okay, this is an error that you will see if we, if the checkout sessions account is different from the one that the product was created on. So we need to go back. Actually, what we need to do is create a new product now that we've updated so that it will go to the correct account. Remember how we just added that header? Also, we want to get rid of this horizontal reference at the top there. Okay, so whatever, add a price, euros, okay, create product. Okay, undefined method Stripe ID for user. So that's good. So this should be product.user.account.stripe ID. And did it create a new product? Let's see if it went to products 5. Okay, cool. So now when we check out, missing required param line items currency. So I think what that actually means is that we're not passing in this price here. So let's see, product.last.stripe price ID. Product.find for Stripe price ID. Line items is an array. What is going on here? Product. Oh, why is that one not have anything? That's odd. Okay, let's try products new again. All right, we're going to create a brand new product. We're going to add a price in euros. All right, create product. And we should be redirected to the last product. Okay, now when we check out, by default, it's in US dollars. That's because I'm in the United States as I'm checking out. Now, if we wanted to simulate a different country, we can say customer email, and then we can put in a special email address. I don't actually remember what it is. So let's go over here and testing. Okay, so test plus location underscore and then a country. So this should make it look like we're coming from France, I think. So we're going to come back here, go to dashboard, go to products/6 and click on checkout. And now we should see euros. Let's see. Boom, we see it in euros. Okay, that's pretty cool, right? So now we have price localization based on the IP address of where the customer is. So we just created a product. It has a bunch of prices. That's happening all for us automatically under the hood as part of Stripe, checkout and the power of these custom localized currencies. Okay, let's make this a little bit more user-friendly by giving our users a list of products when they go to this products page. So we're gonna go to the products controller again and say, show me the list of my products. So we need to have an authenticated user. We want our products. Now let's go to product index and we're going to iterate over all the products at products.each do product. And I think we might want just a table here. So let's find a table that's part of Tailwind UI. So we're going to find tables. Okay. And this first one looks pretty nice. I mean, it's simple enough and we can just drop that in there. All right. This even has a button for adding a new user. We're going to use, or we could use our new button that we already got, or our link that we've already got, and just wire that up. So we only want the new products to iterate for each row in the table. So let's clean that up a little bit. And then what can we do here? We want to just say, okay, instead of having new product there, we're going to move this down into here. And then we're going to grab all of those classes and we'll just say add. Okay, add product, and now that should work just fine. That's cool. All right, we don't need users or like this header here. We've already got our products thing up above, so we're just going to remove that. A list of all the products in your account. And this sentence, I think we can just call it good there. All right, a list of all the products in your account. Great. And then instead of actually listing the products, it just iterates over a bunch of stuff. So let's say the name. And then what we want to do, I think, is, yeah, well, let's pull the name and the price. And then, yeah, let's leave an edit link. Okay, so the name is going to be product.name. And then the price is going to be something that we have to pull out of the data properties. And then edit is just going to be the edit product path for the product. All right. And this is going to be some price. Price. Okay, let's look and see what we've got. Okay, so now we have our product names. We've got an edit link. So edit test with prices. We don't actually have an edit form yet, but this gets us started. So the price, how do we want to pull the price out? So let's see here. So product.last.data. In order to access the actual contents of the price, so we have our default price, which has its unit amount. So what we want to do is say something like, let's say Stripe product.construct from product.last.data. Does that work? No. JSON.parse Okay, so this is going to give us a Stripe product back, and then we can say dot default price, and now we can access all the stuff that we want on the default price. So let's add a little helper method that will give us the product data from the product object, I think. I don't know. Let's just add a helper, product, or data as product or something. I don't know. Data product data. I don't know. So Stripe product dot construct from. All right. So now in the product index, what we can do is for this price, we can just say product.default price.unit amount. And nope, oh, it needs to be product data. Okay, not all the products have data. Product.where data is nil. .destroy all. Okay, that's a quick way to do it. Okay, now we have our prices rendering there. So let's render that unit amount at number as currency. And here we can pass in, let's divide this by 100.0 just so that it looks sort of nice. Number as currency. Is that not the method? Or to currency, number to currency. Okay, now we see our prices there. That is looking pretty nice. I think we might actually want this to be right aligned. Is it text right? Okay, interesting. So yeah, let's do that for both the header and the data column. Okay, so now we have our prices there. We have our edit button. That's looking pretty good. Okay, so we have our test prices. We can say edit. We should probably also make this a link to show the price, but for now, I think that is pretty good, a pretty good start. We haven't yet added many validations. We still have a little bit of cleanup to do to remove horizontal references and such, but we're in a pretty good place where we can create products with several different currencies and we're able to redirect. We know how to test different currencies. So at this point, we're able to sort of create the product. I think in the next episode, we're going to talk about uploading assets that you would sell as the result of these products. We're also going to talk about, we've got a whole bunch of different things and tools and ideas for what we might want to build for these creators. So stick around as we continue to build out this creator platform. Thanks so much for watching, and we will see you in the next one.